Today I'm going to make some pork parmesan out of the Keto Cookery book from Dr. Fife. Now this is from page 204 and I'm going to go over the ingredients. Now I did 4 pork chops, so I upped my ingredients just a bit. So I started with, it says 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. I used some spray coconut oil. I used 4 pork chops. I used a whole medium onion, which was way too much. And it says 1 green bell pepper sliced. I used a frozen bag of green bell peppers and onions, and I used about a half a cup total. And I just kind of combined that with my onions, and I actually added some fresh onions to that because I did not have any fresh bell peppers. I used, it says a medium carrot sliced, and 2 cloves of garlic minced, 2 cups of chopped and peeled eggplant, which I did not have, so I substituted zucchini squash for that. Sliced zucchini squash, which was frozen. It was in just a frozen bag I bought at the supermarket. I used, it says crushed tomatoes. I just crushed up my own whole tomatoes, and I used about almost a cup. So I just got some whole tomatoes out of a can and crushed them up myself. I used about a teaspoon of dried oregano. I used Italian seasoning, which had oregano, and I believe it has basil in it as well. Or thyme in it, I think. So I used some Italian seasoning. I used probably about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, which held the oregano, and it also held a little bit of thyme. And then I did separately sprinkle in about a half a teaspoon of basil. I used some salt and garlic blend. I used the Kinder's blend seasoning, which has the salt, pepper, and garlic in it. And it also calls for 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese, which you'll see I completely forgot. And it was really it was still really good, even without the Parmesan cheese. So you can add that yourself and let me know if you do how that tastes. I'm going to have to do this again sometime and actually remember to do the Parmesan cheese, which I did have in the refrigerator, by the way. So I started with just spraying some of the coconut spray in my pan, and I'm adding 4 pork chops to this. I'm going to just brown these pork chops for 5 minutes on each side. These are just rolling, and John's watching the football game in the background, so I'm trying to do a little bit of audio cleanup here. But so that's been cooking for 5 minutes. I'm going to flip them to the other side for another 5 minutes. They are nice and brown. And this copper-coated pan is so easy to clean, so I wasn't too worried about the cleanup with this pan. But you can just use the coconut oil, just the liquid coconut oil, and just pour it in there. Or I could have used the same coconut oil I used for my skincare the other day, if you guys watched that video. But I just chose to use the spray coconut oil. All right, it's been another 5 minutes. Let's take a look. These are done, and I'm going to just now move them out of the pan and in onto a plate, and I'm going to let them sit for a little while I prepare the vegetables. This is such an easy recipe, by the way. So next, we're just going to add my little mixture of bell pepper and onion and carrots to this, and we're going to saute these with the drippings here, and just until they're tender. Now this did not take long, and I would just say it probably only took a few minutes. I did cover it for a little while, so I would say maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Just taste them. You just want to cook them until they're tender, and I did use frozen. So if you followed a haul that I did the other day, and I bought some frozen onions and peppers all blended in a bag, and then I bought some frozen carrot slices. That's what this is. And I did add a little fresh onion to this because I chopped up an onion and then I realized my bell pepper blend had onion in it. I'm just going to cover this and I'm just going to let it cook until all of the vegetables are tender. So it's been about 5 minutes. I did taste one of the onions and or one of the carrots, and they were tender. So I'm adding my garlic now. And so I've got the garlic in there, and I did mince that up. It was fresh garlic, and I have a few straddlers there. Now I'm adding some frozen zucchini slices. It did call for eggplant, which I did not have. So if you try this with eggplant, let me know how it was. I would like to do that again and do it again, and next time you maybe use eggplant. But I did have zucchini slices, and I went ahead and added those. Now we're going to cook this for about 4 minutes and just stirring occasionally. John's watching our Denver Broncos get the hat handed to them big time. They are not doing well, by the way, if you're a football fan. Needless to say, I am muting the background as much as possible to protect your ears. You're welcome. Now those have cooked for about 4 minutes or so, and they're nice and tender. And I just took some whole tomatoes out of a can and I crushed them myself. And I'm just going to add the crushed tomatoes here to my mixture, to my vegetables, and get this stirred in. And I have not added any other liquids to this since I started. And you might want to add some, but I mean, it turned out really well. So I'm just following the directions. I am using a little bit of Italian seasoning because that does have, I believe it's thyme and oregano. So I added some Italian seasoning. I'm also going to add just a bit of the basil leaves, so crushed basil leaves. So I'm going to put that in as well. And I'm doing the Kinder's blend, which is a mixture of garlic, I think it's garlic powder, and then salt and pepper. So it's a blend. So I added that, and I'm going to stir this up, and we're going to cook it for another 4 minutes. Now I did heat up some of the Seeds of Change organic quinoa and brown rice with garlic. And if you're keto, you will not want to do this, but I am very low carb right now, or some of the time I am. This was a low carb meal. John is not keto and he's not really, he would have mashed potatoes if that was an option tonight, but I'm letting him have some rice. So, so just disregard this if you're keto. But it is an option for those of you some of you are eating keto, some of you are not. This is a great option for those people who want a little more carbs. So this has been cooking a while, and now I'm going to go ahead and put the pork chops back in here and cover it. This is where you would normally now sprinkle in your Parmesan cheese over the pork chops. I forgot all about that step. I had Parmesan cheese in my fridge and I completely forgot. So I am skipping that, but I am going to put the pork chops in here, put the lid on, and just sort of heat that through for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and serve this and see what John thinks. It smells so good. It smells amazing. And again, I am serving it with the quinoa and brown rice, but if you're keto, just disregard that. And I think I could have probably done a few more vegetables. Since the recipe only called for 2 pork chops, I did add the 4 pork chops, and I probably should have maybe, I didn't quite double the recipe when it came to the vegetables. So that's a little bit off as far as my ratio of vegetables and pork chops, but it still is, it was so good. So look, I've got the squash in there, all the flavors, everything was so tender. So we're going to go over and we're going to see what John thinks. Okay, John, dig in and let us know what you think.
Okie dokie.
Roscoe's jumping all over the
He's making
place.
his rounds.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Delicious, very good.
Roscoe approves of the smell, too. It's got onion and garlic in it, Roscoe, so we're going to have to do something different for you, bud.
Very good.
Okay, good. So it's the keeper.
It's a keeper.
And you can serve it without the rice, and it would be completely keto, but we did do the rice. So, yum, yum.
Very good.